Hello everyone, this is Kartik Chawda, Software Manager, Computer Society of India, KJSIEIT Institute of Engineering and Information Technology Chapter. CSI has come up with IGTV tutorials for all of you. In this IGTV tutorial, I will be teaching Android app development. By end of this series, each one of you will be able to build an Android application of your own. Follow CSI to watch all the part of this series and stay tuned for more.
Okay, so roadmap of the tutorial will be as follow. We'll first get to know about Android Studio and some rich features of Android Studio. Then we'll dive into basics of Android Studio where we'll see a hello world example, what is resources, what is an activity and context, and what are intents. And we'll move into user interface design where we are going to learn how to get input from user, add buttons to user inputs, interface and then add text to user interface and what are different kinds of layout used in Android Studio for designing user interface. Then we'll start creating our first tab which is calculator. So let's get started with the tutorial. About Android Studio. Android Studio is the official integrated development environment IDE for developing Android apps based on Intel IJ IDEA. As we all know, Intel IJ has powerful code editors and developers tools and offer more features which enhances productivity when building Android apps. Some features of Android Studio are flexible Gradle based build system. Okay, so what is Gradle? Gradle is a build automation tool for multi-language software development. It controls the development process in task of compilation, testing, deployment, and publishing. Second is we all know that there is official Android emulator. So emulator runs 3 times faster and with ADB enhancement, which is Android debug bridge, you can now push data and apps 10 times faster to emulator than to physical device. And also like physical devices, the official Android emulator also includes Google Pay services built in so one can test more API functionality. Also, emulators have rich features to manage calls, battery, network, GPS, different kinds of sensors, and many more. Third is unified environments where apps can be developed for all Android devices. So one can develop app for all Android devices, whether it is a smartphone or whether it is Samsung tablet. Fourth feature is sample code and GitHub integration. There are a lot of resources available on Android native which can be used to develop apps, and one can also integrate GitHub to manage version control and many more things. And finally, fifth is debug tool. We can debug apps and test functionality of apps in Android Studio. Android Studio is an open source platform for developing Android apps. You can download Android Studio from its official website developer.android.com. Once Android Studio is installed, open Android Studio and we'll get this type of window. For creating new project, we'll click on Start a new Android Studio project. After starting a project, we have to select template for our project. There are many templates in Android Studio. I will be explaining few templates. First is basic activity. In basic activity, we have this floating action button, and on click of this floating action button, we can either move to next page or show alert dialog or perform action as per the requirements. Then we are having bottom navigation. This kind of UI is used by Instagram for switching from one page to another. Third is empty activity where we will be getting empty screen to design our own UI and components. Next is Google Map activity. This activity is used to display maps to user and perform map related tasks. Next is navigation drawer activity where we get site navigation. Then tab activity is used by WhatsApp to switch screens. So here we are gonna use empty activity. After selection of template, we have to configure our project. Name is the name of our Android app. Package name is uniquely identifies the app on the device. It is also unique in Google Play Store. Language. There are two languages, Java and Kotlin. I will be using Java and minimum SDK is kept to Jelly Bean, so the user must have at least Jelly Bean OS to run this app on their device. After finishing, our project is being built. Once build is finished, your Java folder contains .java files for your project. By default, it includes a main activity.java source file having activity class that runs when your app is launched. Whatever components or screens are developed as a part of application, then we have to declare all the components in manifest file. This file works as an interface between Android app and the OS. Here we can also add different permissions like internet, GPS, storage, etc. Then there is resource directory. Apart from coding, we have to add static contents like images, colors, animations, etc. These resources are maintained separately. For example, in drawable, shapes and image PNG JPG are stored in drawable folder. In layout folder, XML files that define UI are stored. Values folder contains simple XMLs like color, string, styles, dimensions, etc. As we know that layout are stored in XML file and each activity associated to a layout file. Here R means resource, layout means layout class followed by XML file name or activity layout name. Here activity main is the layout file. Whenever you want to change the current look of an activity or when you move from one activity to another, the new activity must have a design to show. We call set content view in on create with the desired design as an argument. As we all know, when we run any C, C++ or Java program, your program starts with main function. In very similar way, Android system initiates its program within an activity starting with a call on create callback method. There is sequence of callback method that start up an activity and sequence of callback method that tear down activity as shown in activity lifecycle diagram. Next is intent. An intent is to perform an action on the screen. It is mostly used to start activity, send broadcast receiver, start services, and send messages between two activities. Then we move to layouts. Constraint layout is a layout on Android that gives you adaptable and flexible way to create views for Android app. Constraint layout is now default layout in Android Studio. These springs are the constraints. We can constrain this object to another object or to container. Let's take a short example where we have to place two buttons on same horizontal panel. We can do this by connecting both the components by constraint. So in this way, we can design UI in constraint layout. Relative layout enable us to specify how child view are positioned relative to each other. The position of each view can be specified as relative to sibling element or relative to parent. Let's take same example of placing two buttons in horizontal pane. So we'll first replace this constraint layout tag with relative layout tag and we'll remove all the components used in previous screen. Then we'll add button. Here layout width means the width occupied by a component and height means the height occupied by a component. Match parents means this child view is forced to expand to match the view of parent, and wrap content means this child view wraps snugly around its own component. So right now we'll be keeping match wrap content and height will be kept to wrap content. And we'll give ID as button 1. Here ID uniquely identifies the component and text as button 1. We'll add another button where ID will be button 2. As you can see, both the buttons are overlapped. So to move or to place button in an horizontal pane, we'll simply add layout underscore right off to right off, and we'll give ID of the button 1. So in this way we can align buttons in an horizontal in relative layout. So the next layout is linear layout. Linear layout is very basic layout. We can arrange our components sequentially, that is either in horizontal way or either in vertical way. So to arrange these two buttons in horizontal way, first we have to rename this tag to linear layout. And in this linear layout tag, we have to add orientation to horizontal. And then we can remove this layout to right of attribute from button 2. And in this way, we can arrange two buttons in horizontal. If we want to place buttons vertically, then we can simply change orientation to vertical. And in this way, we can align our components in linear layout. In next example, we are going to take input from the user and on button click, display that input onto the screen. For taking input from the user, we are going to use edit text tag, and then we'll create button, and then we'll display text on the screen with text view. So let's do this example. I will create edit text where width will be match parent and height will be wrap content. And then we'll give hint as a placeholder. Enter your name. Below of edit text, we'll create button and give text as submit. We'll assign unique ID to each component. And then text view to display text. Initially, text view will be empty. Since all components are created, we'll write program to take input from the component on click of button and display that input. For this, we'll initialize components object. Then finding the object with ID. So we'll write find view by ID r.id.id of component. In this way, we initialize the components. Now we'll add listener to the button by setting onClickListener and passing callback object of view.onClickListener. So when button is pressed, this block of code will run. Now we'll take input from the user in this manner. editText.getText.toString. This will give the text entered by the user. Now for displaying the text, we'll simply use text2.setText and pass the string as a parameter. In this way, we can accept inputs from the user and display that input on the screen. Let's run this app and test the output. Yes, it works perfectly. So that's it for the basics of Android. In next video, we'll cover how to make a calculator app. If you found this video helpful, then do like our video and share as much as possible. And also next video is coming soon. Thank you.